let's jump into game number 1 between Neeb and HeRoMaRinE. So on the top right hand side here, we've got ourselves Neeb. Neeb is our Protoss player. He's currently not on a team according to Team Liquid Wikipedia. His name is Alex Sunderhaft, 19 years old, from United States of America. This guy is very, very young, especially to be in a professional environment. But I suppose these days that's where all the top players are found, very, very young, because of course when you're younger you have a whole lot of extra time, no interruptions and no distractions when playing video games, and I suppose it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because I mean obviously games are very distracting to your personal life, but at the same time it gives you that extra freedom to actually do all this kind of stuff. So his opponent is going to be HeRoMaRinE here as the Terran on the bottom left hand side. He is on team mousesports. His name is Gabriel, Segat, age 20, and he is from Germany. So we are on Blackpink LE. This is a map that I have previously cast on, and I really like the way it's laid out. It's the main base is not too big, and of course you got yourself a lot of prevention there for Reaper rushes, and I do like the way that is, because it means that Terran players are not too obligated to start with big Reaper harass. And I suppose this kind of meta has actually changed recently, where it's no longer really a thing that people don't do like 4 or 5 Reaper harassments at the very beginning. They usually bring out the one for the scout, and that's pretty much where it ends, and they transition into a 1-1-1 build. Now obviously there's this ledge here which can actually quite easily be defended versus Reapers, but you know, that's just player preference, I suppose. If you want to go for those Reapers, then why not, but I don't think many people do it these days. Now Neeb did opt to go for a very, very quick Nexus. Obviously these days it's very difficult to stay on one base when you're playing as pretty much any race. It is important to expand as soon as possible and get yourself that extra income and potentially the production capability as well. Now as you can see here, Neeb has almost fully saturated his gases now. I think this last probe that's coming out here now is going to go on that as well. Yeah, it is, which means that we're probably going to be seeing a Stargate coming out here any moment now. With this, also just to note that he does have a Stalker coming out as the second choice of unit, not continuing to produce Adepts like some people do. Now where is this Stargate going to go down? It looks like he might just wait a little bit and make a bit of a production or rather income before starting to build that Stargate, but that should be coming out any moment. Now he did bring out a Twilight Council as well, which suggests that he might go for Blink Stalkers. Now the question for that is going to be whether those are going to be aggressive Blink Stalkers or defensive Blink Stalkers, or obviously it can be a mix of both. But basically the purpose of Blink Stalkers when you're in a defensive situation, of course, is to manage to snipe off any of... Why can I not think of their name right now? This is embarrassing. Liberator. No, that name just escaped me for a moment. I don't even know why, but yeah, basically, if you need to defend against Liberators, having that Blink Stalkers is very, very important to be able to get in under them very quickly, take them out as soon as possible, and prevent any, well, as much economic disruption as possible, even if you don't lose any probes. So on the production tab, we got ourselves that Blink, we got ourselves a Stargate, we got ourselves a WidowMine actually coming out from HeRoMaRinE. And no medevac as of yet. Now the question is going to be whether he's going to start with the medevac slash Marine and WidowMine harassment, or whether he is going to... Now this is an interesting thing. He just sacrificed all of those Marines just to place this WidowMine in here. Now once this Blink comes up, he will probably be able to just escape through here, but the question is, will that Stalker survive until then? So far these two Stalkers have actually done quite a significant amount of damage, considering it's just 2 Stalkers and 1 Adept, which I believe he actually lost, if I'm not mistaken. So quite good so far in terms of what he's managed to pull off with such little amount of units as well. Obviously getting 4 SCVs there, which is a bit of extra disruption for Eco. Now Neeb has actually gone for another Nexus here, so going for that third base, he does recognize the fact that he has managed to do a small bit of economic advantage or damage, which is going to give him that extra freedom of I suppose time and just the aggression that's not going to be coming from HeRoMaRinE, simply because of the lack of income that he's going to have. Now, with the mules down, he is, of course, going to have a bit more economy, but it's going to take him a little bit longer to get across the map and actually do anything about it. But let's see what he's going to manage to do with these stalkers. Now, the blink being utilized here just to reduce... Oh, that one getting sniped off, that is a little bit unfortunate, but there's just a little bit too many units here for HeRoMaRinE for those stalkers to do a whole lot. Now, Siege Tank is now up here. I think that I actually missed something here with a bit of harassment. Now, I don't really know what that was. It's probably the Liberator that was... going around, most likely getting taken out by those stalkers over here. But the question is, how much did he lose to that? Now, workers killed is 6 for Neeb and 4 for HeRoMaRinE, so not a whole lot at this time. But they're almost equal at this point in terms of economic damage, which is quite good. Oh, look at this. We got ourselves a pylon going down here. Now, I wonder, is this in preparation for another expansion? Or is this something to hide a sneaky building? I mean, it wouldn't really be sneaky considering that's the next place HeRoMaRinE is going to start scouting. But we'll see where that goes. Now, there is a siege tank all the way back here. This is going to keep him quite safe now. There's not a whole lot that Neeb can do with such a small stalker army, simply because if he gets in too close, by the time he actually destroys the siege tank, he could potentially lose all, if not most, of those stalkers. So not exactly a safe thing to do if he wants to move up here. He definitely needs a whole lot more units, maybe a few zealots just to get in that tank's face, or at least absorb a few shots from the front. Now it looks like a fourth Nexus coming down. Wow, Neeb is actually going all in with these expansions, so he is not letting this advantage go. HeRoMaRinE is not even on his third base yet, or not even starting his third base, and already we've got ourselves a fourth base coming out for Neeb. So this is quite interesting, the fact that he's going so far ahead and just not letting go of his advantage. Now the stalker is a little bit exposed here, but I think he might have enough health to survive, otherwise the Neeb would risk far too much damage to actually stay around with those stalkers. So getting repaired again. Now Neeb clearly is very focused on keeping his opponent at bay, while at the same time building up his economy. He's not doing too much in terms of damage at the moment, but that's because he knows that his opponent is contained. Now, the one thing that he will probably need to be aware of and be very, very careful of is that HeRoMaRinE is producing a lot of units, whereas Neeb so far has spent a lot of his resources on eco. Now, he's got level 1 armor and weapons complete now at this point, so if he starts to reinforce this army, he will very, very easily be able to burn through all of HeRoMaRiNE's units. Now, with the army supply favoring Neeb at this point, it is going to be very, very easy for him to break through HeRoMaRinE. And I'm not saying that because of the number of units that he has, but it's more about the sorry, it wasn't the army supply, it's the worker supply. So they're actually equal. I do apologize, there was a bit of a mistake there. So they're equal on the army supply, but the one advantage that Neeb has right now is the massive reinforcements potential that he has from 4 bases of supply. So looking at the income from the minerals, despite the fact that HeRoMaRinE could potentially have 1 or 2 mules in there, he doesn't actually at the moment, but it's almost doubled simply because he's on 4 bases rather than 2. So if he decides to push in here, he can actually afford to lose more units simply because he has so much extra income that he can use to reinforce his army. Now there is a bit of an attack here. Oh, this is actually huge. That is a lot of production capability lost. 2 gateways and a robotics facility. This is absolutely massive. It's going to delay any sort of production from Neeb for a short amount of time, but will he continue on here? He's just going to do a bit of scouting, getting a big warp in here from zealots, and I think that Neeb might be actually okay here, but he did lose a lot of his production capability for a short space of time, which can disrupt so much and cause so much damage in the long run, simply because you are not prepared to deal with that if you don't respond quickly. But he did, so luckily. that is still in his favor. Now the army supply is favoring Neeb now that he can reinforce quite heavily. The income is still favoring him quite heavily as well, so that's one extra thing that he's got going for him. And I think that Neeb is actually in a fantastic situation right now where he can pretty much contain his opponent without worrying too much about loss of units, because he can of course reinforce them so much. Nice force fields going down here, separating his army in two, but the good pick off here from HeRoMaRinE, or pick up rather, of his units just to prevent them from getting slaughtered on the other side of that force field. And it looks like Neeb is just steamrolling straight in here. I think that there wasn't really a whole lot that HeRoMaRinE could have done in terms of reinforcements. There was just too much advantage for Neeb, and I think that this aggressive push at the start, he knew that he'd done a bit of economic damage. He had very favorable trade with those stalkers in the beginning, and at that point he just decided to snowball it out, get well ahead of his opponent in terms of economy, and yeah, that's pretty much in his favor. So that was fantastic game number 1. Let's move on to game number 2.